Welcome back to the Mrs. IE427 channel, everybody. The solar system has been installed, so I will go over all that with you, and then we have another unscheduled event that has hit us this past week, and I'm going to let you in on that as well. Alright, we did have one of our high bay lights right there give out on us just last week, but I'm not going to mess with it until after we get all of our inspections and everything behind us and get the solar operational. So it can wait because it involves having to move the cars and the trucks and everything else, so I'm not even going to worry about that. But I did order I ordered like a 4-pack of the same lights that I already have in here, and I think I still have 2 extra because I was gonna install 2 more out here in the main shop, but I'm just not gonna get into any of that right now. So turning my attention back to the solar, if you remember in the last video, I believe I said something about the electrical panel in here. It was finished up then. Nothing's really changed here. I was surprised that the solar guys didn't put a service disconnect breaker in here for this, but the way the solar is wired in, they basically bypass it. So the feed of this panel goes directly into the Tesla Powerwall 3 controller, and then it comes back and into this panel and feeds into the main lugs on the top of it. So I didn't question it. I don't install solar, so I'm just kind of letting these guys do their thing, and hopefully it's all going to work just fine. So everything in here is all good. The wires all got kind of cleaned up in the last video as well, and you can see, the NVR for the cameras, the network switch, and the router and modem are all nice and neat and doing their thing. So out here we have the solar equipment that they mounted on the wall. They actually did a really good job doing everything really nice and neat. And you can tell it's been a couple of weeks since they were here because we already have spiders and spider webs on the equipment here. But so basically what happens, and I found out from our solar installer when he was out here, that we didn't need this piece of equipment. However, it was on the manifest, and so because it was, they installed it anyways. But it's my understanding that all of the solar panels feed down into this unit, then go into that disconnect, and then feed into the Tesla Powerwall 3 controller. So I'm taking their word for it. Now you'll notice that disconnect is on, but the breakers in the Tesla Powerwall are off. So we haven't had our, I guess it's called permission to operate from the local utility, which in our case is Southern California Edison yet, but they tested everything before they left, and I guess programmed it and everything else. We'll find out when they give us permission to turn it on. I think our inspection is scheduled to be in a week or 2. I don't understand that because, for instance, I can call the city today and I can get an inspection tomorrow. So I don't know quite the politics or whatever goes on with this, and why it takes them so long. And then they're telling me it could be up to 6 weeks before I get permission to operate it. So when you add all that stuff in, I probably would have spent a little more money to have a local solar contractor do this. but I would have been up and running quicker too. So the payback would have been quicker. So I don't know. I honestly don't know. So hopefully once we get the permission to operate, you know, it'll be quick right after the inspection, but I'm not holding my breath. The whole online experience with the solar company has been questionable at best, because although everything that led up to a payment, like the deposit and then the first payment and the second payment, I mean, they were on us about, you know, get the payment, and or it's going to hold up the job. And then as soon as they got their final payment, you know, it's been weeks since we've heard from them. And then finally, I got an email or a text saying that, you know, we're in the, our inspection is in the works, but didn't give us a date. And so I questioned, and I think I'm just talking to the IA. Sorry, not the IA, the AI, artificial intelligence, because I don't think there's anybody on the other end of this text, and it's computer generated. So I don't know. But inside, the equipment is the Tesla Powerwall 3 battery cabinet. So that's here. And from my understanding, this talks to the Powerwall controller out on the building. And then, of course, there's another disconnect switch here that shuts off the power coming out of there, because the battery power is always stored, going out to the controller in the out there in the yard on the front of the building. So these guys did a really good job with the install. I mean, from the time they got here, the kid that was installing it, and I mean kid, he was in his 20s. And I remember being that age, being in the electrical field, and thinking I knew everything. So he was definitely a kid. But he did a really good job, along with his team, at getting this installed pretty much the way I asked him to. I told him I wanted this stuff, you know, kind of tucked out of the way, and this was the spot that we found that would work for that. And then they ran the conduit up and into the rafters of the steel building and over, and then they put an LB conduit right there to redirect the conduit down and over to the equipment on that outside wall. Great job. They ran another conduit from the solar panels to here, but it goes up and follows that same path all the way over. And then you can see where there's light coming through the wall there. That's where they penetrated out through the building and up onto the roof. And I'll probably take you up on the roof maybe tomorrow. I don't feel like getting out a ladder and climbing up on the roof right now. But they still need to come back and seal all these penetrations. So that hole in the building is supposed to be sealed shut. I'm assuming they'll use some type of silicone or like flexible membrane to put in there. There's a number of products that we use. I don't know which product they're going to use, but I'm going to let them do their thing. And then if it needs maintenance or repair in the future, then I'll use a product that I'm more familiar with. But I even provided them the screws to screw the straps for the conduit up, because when the building was built, there was a bunch of extra screws from that, and I just happened to keep them all, and they're in bags inside this box. And so I basically just told them, you know, these are the screws you guys are going to want to use. They cut through that steel. They've got a drill bit end on them, and they cut through the steel real quick. And so he did. He made sure that they used those screws. They didn't have any problems getting those screws into those thick steel purlins up there where the conduit is attached. So again, the kid did a really good job of listening to what I want and, finding out how we wanted the system installed. And so for that, I'm really thankful that we got an install crew that was willing to do things, the way we wanted. And it's not easy working for a contractor. We're a general contractor. I'm an electrical contractor, and Mrs. IE 427 is the general contractor. She has a painting and decorating contractor's license as well. So it's not easy working for someone who has knowledge in the field, because we know how things are supposed to be done the right way. And so a lot of times that type of situation doesn't always end well. But we found a really good group of kids that were out here putting in the solar system, and they listened. So the one other thing that they had to do to tie in the system is they had to put some current transformers, we refer to them as CTs, in the main panel. And so that was a question kind of going into the install, because the online company that we were doing the solar through told us that we needed a separate conduit, and it had to had to be all on its own. And I researched on the Tesla website. I got into the Tesla, what do they call it, Tesla Academy website by accident, completely by accident. I was just looking at how and what type of wire and everything they needed to tie the CTs in, and by doing a Google search, I got onto this website. And I don't know if you're supposed to have a login or anything, but for whatever reason, I was able to search all this stuff on the Tesla Academy website and get all of the answers that I had about this low voltage wire for the CTs answered, because I was able to read through all the product literature that they don't necessarily supply to the customer, the end user of this stuff. And so with that information, armed with that information, I was able to go back to the solar company and say, hey, no, right here on the solar academy for Tesla, it says you can run this wire inside the high voltage conduit, or you can run it alongside of other low voltage cables in the same conduit. So we could have run it through the conduit, that the feeders that actually feed from the main panel out here, or we could run it through the low voltage conduit that brings all the internet, the cable TV and everything out to this building. And once they kind of figured out that I knew what I was talking about, then they said, okay, we'll handle that, and we're only going to have to charge you the difference in the price of the wire. Well, they should have accounted for that when they gave me the original quote, because they had to know at that time they had to tie into the panel anyways, and the panels were going to be on this other building. But I didn't question it at that point. It was a hell of a lot less than the $2,000 or $2,700 that they quoted me initially. So extra on top of what we had already paid. So to pay $200 or $300 for the cost of the wire, I was like, okay, fine, just do it. And the guys came and they were armed with the wire and everything that they needed to do it. So those current transformers actually are in the panel. I'm not going to open up the panel and show you, but they're in the panel. And the thing that I forgot when the kid was installing the CTs in the panel, and honestly he forgot too, is that this is a Cutler Hammer panel. And so when the lines come in, he was only able to get one CT around one of the wires that feed the breaker on the top of here, and then he had to put the other one on a corresponding bus bar. And doing that, he managed to get the same phase, because there's an A and a B phase in a single phase system along with a neutral. Somehow he got the both on the same phase, and we're all of us were kind of looking at it, wondering, well, how the hell is that? Because the Tesla equipment was reading that it was both in the same phase. And what we found out is, and I knew this, but for whatever reason it had escaped me at the time, when the Cutler Hammer main breakers come in on a breaker like that one that's in there, the phases switch basically as they go in the top. They're right and left, but as they come out of the side and feed down to the breaker, they have split, because it's basically the closest path. So this one goes to the top and this one goes to the bottom, but in the relationship to the busing, they're swapped. And so if you don't know that, you put the current transformers on there, or the CTs, and you're reading off the same phase because you just happen to clip them all, both in the same phase. And you know, it was, you know, they were the easiest ones to get to. So we had to swap that, or he had to swap that, and then everything was okay. And so, like I said, they tested the system, and everything supposedly tested okay, but we'll know better once it gets turned on. Now, I'm hoping that it works as promised, so that when we're not producing power from the solar panels up on the roof, that the battery right over here will take over during those peak hours, you know, after dark. So, you know, peak hours here are from 5 to 8 o'clock, and that's when everybody's getting home from work. So, you know, here Edison just jacks up the price. I mean, the price for kilowatt is almost triple during peak hours. And I don't know how the utilities get away with this. I mean, granted, I understand they got to make money, but they haven't done anything with the infrastructure down in this area for 30 years, or probably longer, and they continue to generate revenue. So I'm not going to go off on a big old rant. I don't see that there is a reason that they need to triple the prices during peak hours, right? And then at the same time, the government is telling us we need to buy electric cars, but we don't have the power to support them. That's just, to me, that's just asinine. However, the solar system is installed. I'm going to see if I can take you guys up on the roof tomorrow. We'll take a look at the solar panels, and then, because I haven't even been up there, and see what that all looks like. And then I'll come back and probably wrap this video up. All right, I am up on the roof, and you can see we have 23 panels. Once I get downstairs again, I will look and see what the wattage is of all of the panels. But it's supposed to add up to a 10.5 kilowatt system. So they actually did a pretty good job up here. The conduits run straight. They didn't make any unnecessary penetrations through the roof that they didn't have to, which I'm happy about. And they did a nice clean job getting all the panels lined up and installed. So hopefully in the next few days we'll get this all inspected by the local municipality, and we'll get it turned on. All right, now for our unscheduled event. In the midst of our solar being installed, a previous tenant that had actually rented the front house contacted us and said he was looking for a place to stay. And although we had planned on renting out the apartment that's here on the property as well, we've been taking our time. And so we'd kind of been, you know, just using it as storage while we were gonna, you know, get it ready to rent. And at some point we figured we'd finish off, you know, all the little things that needed to be finished, and then put it up for rent. But he waited until a week before he had to be out of the place he was living at. So, of course, Mrs. IE 427 always defaults to yes. We had a little bit under a week to basically turn the place around and get it ready to rent. Now, our end goal was to rent it as a 1-bedroom, because there's actually about, what is that? It's probably 10 by 18 or 9 by 18. So it's almost, you know, 200 more square feet of space behind the actual apartment. We were going to turn into a bedroom, and there was just simply no time for that. So we rented it out as a flat, or like a studio apartment, and we got it done. We got it done in 4 days. So I'm going to take you back to some of that video that I shot during the time that we were doing it, and you guys can see what the apartment looks like pre-finish and then post-finish, right before the tenant actually moved in. So in the midst of getting the solar all completed and inspected, we had a previous tenant hit us up and asked us if the apartment was ready to rent. Now, this is another rental that's still on the same property, and it was not ready. And so we have been working our little tails off the last couple days trying to get it prepped and ready for new renters. So we've been painting, and we've got a door to install over here. Don't know if that's going to get in before he moves in, but nonetheless, it'll have to go in at some time. And then the bathroom needed some attention. So we've cleaned up the shower, cleaned up the sink, vanity, toilet, and it's just about ready to rent. So probably 2-3 more days, and I think he's moving in this coming weekend. So it's been a little hectic around here. All right, it is a couple days later, and the place is all ready to rent. We've been working really hard getting the ceiling all finished up. We had some insulation panels that had come loose, and so those were all screwed and glued back up. The ceiling's been completely painted now, so you can see when I stand back, it's all one color now. Looks nice. The windows have all been trimmed out along with the doors. The bathroom's been cleaned top to bottom, so the shower cleaned. Of course, the throne, the curtains in here, along with the ones out in the main room, have been washed and cleaned. Cleaned out the vent. All right, so I think that's going to do it. Just kind of a solar update, and then, like I said, we got a little surprise in the middle of getting the solar installed and waiting for our final inspection, which we are still waiting for. I'm hoping it's going to be within the next week, because, boy, it just seems like it's been forever. And the funny thing is the solar company that we're using continues to keep sending me emails. You know, they want me to like take a picture next to the solar equipment on the wall for a free $25 Amazon gift card, and I'm like, you guys haven't even finished yet. So I don't know. I'm not going to say they've done a poor job. I just think they could have done better. And I just don't think that the online solution for solar may be for everybody. And in our case, it definitely wasn't for us, because these companies just aren't equipped to do like a custom style install. You know, something like ours, where you've got the panels and the equipment on one building, but yet the main electrical panels in another building. They're used to a cookie cutter type of airplanes. First I had the trains, and then now I got the airplanes. So they're just not. They're not used to our kind of install. They're used to these cookie cutter installs that they can just go in, everything's right there in the garage. You know, the panels on one side of the wall, they put all the equipment on the inside, the solar panels go up on the roof, done. These kids that came out and installed this, they were done in a day. And, you know, our payment to the solar company was completed, if not the next day, like within 2 or 3 days, because they make you use one of these online payment services like, what is it, Stripe? So, I mean, they had their money, but it just seems as though once they get their money, everything slows way down. And that's not the way we do business as a contractor, because we want our main goal is customer satisfaction. You know, we take pride in what we do, but we want our customers coming back when they have other, you know, home improvement stuff that they need done. I don't want them going somewhere else. And so we don't take final payment in a big chunk. We always leave 10% outstanding until every last little detail is taken care of on the job. It gives us the motivation to finish, and it gives the customer peace of mind of knowing that we're going to have everything done before they write us that last check. So, like I said, this is not the model for everybody. At some point, I may share with you who did our solar, but until they finish, I'm gonna stay tight-lipped, and I'm not offering any reviews. I'm not offering any. I'm not accepting any gifts from them for posing next to the solar equipment. To me, that just seems disingenuous, because at this point anyway, we're not overly excited about how these guys have done the job thus far. I believe they could have done a lot better. And at one point, we even canceled on them and told them, no, we're going to see if we can find somewhere local that will do this for, close, if not the same price. And then that seems as though when, they got the kick in the ass to start answering our questions. But now we're in this holding pattern waiting for an inspection. And like I said, I can call the city and get an inspector out here next day. So we're not waiting on the city. We're waiting on the solar company. And the only days that they don't do inspections in our town anyways is Fridays. If you want a Friday inspection, you have to pay extra, because the city inspectors and most of the people in the building department only work Monday through Thursday, and they work 10 hours a day. So that's the reason that I know I can get an inspection. Like if today, for instance, was a Wednesday, I know I can get an inspection Thursday. And if it was Monday, I knew I could get one on Tuesday. If it's Thursday, I get a Monday inspection. So this whole thing about they've been waiting, to line things up with the inspector is a bunch of bullshit, because they're waiting on themselves. And so we'll see. I'm hoping that we're going to get another text here shortly and be able to get the thing inspected and everything else. So that's going to do it for now. If you guys have any questions about the solar install or about the apartment remodel, just put them down in the comments and we'll do our best to answer them. Until then, do the like, the share, the subscribe, all that kind of stuff. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.